Here. It's too hot to sit in the car today. It's just I can't do it. I tried a little bit earlier and I was just sweating immediately and I couldn't do it. So decided to come and sit underneath the overhang on the porch here and do a little discussion about who really owes who. But before I get started, I guess I would like to thank everybody for being part of the Uneducated Economist. It was a year ago over the 4th of July weekend that we had crossed over 100,000 subscribers. We've gained 26,000 subscribers since then. The channel is still growing. We're still breaking this stuff down for the average person to understand so that they can make the best decisions for themselves. I can't thank you enough. I can't thank you enough for being part of the channel. I can't thank you for all the subscriptions. I mean, we've gained another 26,000 subscribers over the last year. The channel is just like it's just amazing to have this as part of my life, and I just don't know what to say. I mean, thank you YouTube for providing a platform in which that I can share my passion with. It's an amazing thing to have, and again, I just can't thank you guys enough for this. I got a couple of articles I want to share down in the description. One of them is to a recent Commodities Futures Trading Commission investigation to a silver leasing business, if I got it right. Now, it was a total fraudulent business. Basically, this guy was, duping people out of their money, saying that he would hold on to their silver, like be the custodian of it, and basically lease the silver, if I got it right. Well, it turns out when the investigators went in to go and, see, how legit this business was, they go to the vault and find there's nothing there. There's no coins. Like they have all these boxes that would supposedly have the customers, bullion in it, and there was little slips of paper in there that says I owe you, in the customer's name. So he basically had nothing there. All these customers who believed that they had silver in possession, not their personal possession, but yet in some sort of like ownership held with this particular company, only to find out that there was nothing there to begin with. And now, well, it turns out that, they are fining the guy, whatever, hundreds of millions of dollars. Who knows if he'll actually pay it or if those people will actually be made whole again. But it just goes to show the risk that you take when you are putting your wealth or items or assets or whatever it is within that third party. You may be putting it at risk and you may not be getting it back, and this is a fine example of that. It's probably just more of a Ponzi scheme using the silver as a means of gaining access to people's funds. The other one I wanted to bring up, and now this is a story that I had heard about a long time ago. Not necessarily a long time ago, but a while back. And I thought it was more of kind of like this urban legend thing. However, it turns out that the United States has a lot of debt that's held by China, like $850 billion worth, right? And a lot of people look at this like, oh man, look, we owe China $850 billion. We're making like $90 million debt payments every day, or the equivalent of. And it turns out that, 50, 60, 80 years ago or more, China was selling a lot of bonds, gold denominated bonds, that Americans were buying. Right? And now, from what I gathered, it's something like $1 trillion worth of these bonds that had been purchased by Americans are held by Americans that are due from China. So China owes the United States, not necessarily the government, but the people of the United States who had purchased these bonds, close to $1 trillion, right? Way more than the $850 billion that the United States owes China. So I think about this. It's not like necessarily this debt that, because read the articles, they kind of mention this, and it does seem pretty feasible as far as a way to deal with this, is that the bonds that have pretty much been defaulted on by China, like these things are due, but nobody ever paid, right? So they still exist. They're not like they're just disappeared. I mean, the debt still is there. They're just choosing not to pay it, and we're basically okay with that. I mean, if the United States really wanted to make China pay, they probably could. They would just start cutting them off on the capital markets like the UK did, forcing China to make good on those particular bonds. So now I'm thinking about this. If there's $1 trillion bonds that are held by the American people, not necessarily the American government, could that give the ability for the United States, say the United States Treasury, to buy those bonds at less than the value of them today? Like say, buy them at 50%. And I mean, the people who have them don't have any money, so getting some money might be decent for them. So could the United States say buy these bonds for cheaper, and then go to China and say, yeah, we owe you 850 billion, but you owe us a trillion, so really you owe us, a couple hundred billion, right? And that's really what the case could be. Now, I'm not saying that that would be like, the outcome of something like this, but these bonds do exist. And there is the American Bond Foundation that has these bonds held, basically, again, the third party claim to, to other families who own these bonds. The American Bond Foundation, the ABF, I believe they call themselves. They could, like I said, if so minded, the government could buy these bonds for cheaper and then offset the debt payments that they had to China. But again, is that an urban legend? I don't know. But I thought it was an interesting thing to think about, especially after, reading about how, like, all these people were duped out of, like, their silver investment with this particular company. It's something very similar, it's just like, hey, we thought we were, it's a gold denominated bond. When you purchase that, this is basically like you're buying gold on lease from China, but yet they screwed you out of it because they didn't pay on it, they defaulted. And of course they're claiming that was a previous, government, that wasn't our government who did that, but yet the Communist Party government is the one who was taking advantage of the fact that bond issuance had taken place. They're just choosing not to pay it back. They're defaulting on it. Cool. So we got 97 of you up in here. I thought it was 100. 97 of you up in here. We got 27 likes. Hit that like button when you come into the chat, and we'll get more people up into the live stream here, and we can have a better discussion on everything, because when we have more people commenting, it's a better live stream. So let's see here. Let's go back to the beginning. All right. Good afternoon. Enjoying your content. I found you through Owen Benjamin. Right on. Yeah, I got to talk with Owen. I had messaged him about, I don't know, a month and a half ago or so, and asking him if he wanted to come back on for a show, and he was like, absolutely, man, let's do it. And I just haven't followed up on it, so I got to do that. All right. Hello first. Well, no, you're third, but that's cool. Yeah. Hi from Delaware. What's your take on the out of office deals in the under and over? It is on the Middleton. What is your take on out of the office deals and the under and over? It's on the Middleton. I don't know. I have to figure out what it is you're talking about. I'm sorry. Maybe I'm just misunderstanding it. First time catching UE live. Well, thank you so much for being here. You know what I'm missing? Are my glasses. I need to go get my glasses. They're right inside the door here. Here. Don't go anywhere. I'll be right back. They're right there on the other chair. I didn't have to go anywhere. All right. Unfortunately, I can only stay for a few. Okay, well, Hydrogen Fuel, thank you. Hydrogen Fuel Technologies, thank you very much for being here. And thank you for your comment earlier on the other video. I do appreciate all comments, I do. I'm going to be out here for maybe about an hour, because I have a 4th of July event that we are going to go barbecue over at our friend's house. All right. I remember getting an IOU on Christmas. Ooh, that's a tough one. All right. The poor owe the rich is the answer. Happy Independence Day, everyone. Yes, happy Independence Day. And that's Dishes Every Day. Go check out Dishes Every Day's channel and go and give her a subscription. She has a great ASMR channel going, starting to really catch some traction. So, classified defense and aerospace owes U.S. Owes us? Classified defense. Hello. Well, hello, literal. What is that? Little red pony? Uneducated Economist. We had a lot more to celebrate on the first 4th of July compared to the present day. Well, I mean, I guess that's all the meaning that you give it, I mean, yeah, there was, are you talking the very first Independence Day? Yeah, that would probably been quite an event, I can't imagine what it was of the people's minds, to try and think, man, what kind of government do we really have going here, In fact, that was a question that was asked of Benjamin Franklin, I think. They said, what kind of government do we have now? And he said back, said that it's a republic if you can keep it. I think that was his reply to her on that question. So it's very interesting, being as somebody who tries to understand and believe in the Constitution, right? It's very difficult to see this world today as a constitution, or the government and the country and everything else as a constitutionally abiding one. Um, Most of like a lot of the government actions and stuff like that are really behaving outside the confines of the Constitution, but it's the simple fact that most people don't know that it's even happening that allows it to take place. The Constitution and independence was written for the people to make sure that they could protect themselves from government, and really, lost our way on that. One of the things that I find it, very interesting is that very few people can actually dictate out the Bill of Rights. Like, they do not know the first 10 amendments to the Constitution, and if you don't know what your rights are, then how do you know if you're losing them or protecting them? And that's quite unfortunate. Most people understand like the first couple, they understand the freedom of speech and the right to bear arms. But after that, they really start losing the ability to understand what it is that their rights really are. The Fourth Amendment to the Constitution is by far the most important one for you to know by heart. It's the one that protects you from authority infringing onto your personal life. Like, and the moment that, a cop asks to search, right, your Fourth Amendment comes up. Right? The rights of the people to be secure in the person's houses, papers, and effects from unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrant shall issue but a probable cause supported by oath or affirmation, particularly describing the places to be searched and the places to be searched and the persons and things to be seized. Right? If you know that, right, you can really protect yourself from a lot of the issues that start to come about when most people have no idea that they step themselves right into issues with law. Right? Understanding your constitutional rights is by far the most important thing that you could ever possibly learn, and most people don't know. Right? And because of that, we end up with a government that behaves the way it does, and that's really the unfortunate case. Now, knowing that, you still have to operate, right? So, we continue on every day as best we can, and it is, I mean, I don't know. Maybe there's other countries you would want to live in, but I like the United States, and in fact, I like the area that I live. I wouldn't want to live anywhere else. This is it. All right, hey, I got some super chats. Thank you so much for supporting the channel, guys. All right, Jaws, it's great to see you, man. Happy 4th, UE. Thoughts on why they are being so stubborn on the Bitcoin spot ETF? I'm going to have to learn more about that. A lot of people keep asking me about the Bitcoin ETF, and I would really like to take in a much better understanding of maybe some more perspectives on it. Because to me, anytime you ever add, like, before, most people wouldn't even touch Bitcoin. Like, the idea of having like a Bitcoin ETF was such a far off concept that people would be like, no, that's never going to take place. But yet here we are, and it's starting to happen. So, it adds some credibility to the whole thing, right? I mean, honestly, I want to see how, banking really starts to react to this, financing, stuff like that. If there's really any kind of like, is it just like a ploy to try and, get people's money? I mean, or is it like, is it a legitimate thing taking place here? I really, time is going to tell on that. And, I wish I had a better understanding of that thing going on so I can discuss it better. But really, I think when you add stuff like this to it, like ETFs or bank accounts or retirements or anything like, portfolio kind of stuff or whatever, that adds more credibility to it. And whereas before people thought it was just a joke and wouldn't even touch it. All right, Gustavo, thank you very much for the $1.99. Very cool of you, man. Thank you for the $4.99. Hey Simon, really like Astoria. I'm visiting now and it's nice out here. Oh, you're in Astoria? Well, hey, send me an email. Maybe we can hook up and get a cup of coffee or something later. Uneducatedeconomist@gmail.com. All right. Happy 4th day, Simon. I Googled merit economics in hopes to learn about China pricing things and some based on behavior. What do you know about merit economics, or is it there another name for it? To be honest, I'm gonna have to look that one up and kind of read through that one. Maybe I understand it and I just don't recognize merit economics. I mean, but yeah, I'm kind of a little bit lost on that one. All right, I'm British and came here in 2001. I hear people talking about freedom here. Certainly should keep it going back to what it was intended to be. I'm not talking about politics. Um, yeah, a lot of people misunderstand. Like, a lot of times people will think of entitlements as like a right or something like that, or you know, I don't know. Like a lot of people misunderstand exactly what a right is. Like, rights are not like something that the government gives. Right? The government can't possibly give you a right. That isn't even possible, right? And in fact, the government can't even really take your rights away. Right? Now they can in certain sense if you're like a murderer or something like that, they'll come and take you away. But legally, when you think about rights and what it is, it's not something that the government gives you. It's something that you already have, right? It's something that's beyond the government. And that's really where like a lot of people misunderstand it. Like this is my right, and these other people got to defend it or something like that. That's not how rights work. Rights are defended by you. You are the only one who can do it, right? And you have to do it at the time that they're being infringed upon, or else you don't have them, right? That's really what it comes down to. So yeah, I mean, freedom and rights are an incredibly misunderstood and forgotten thing. It's like I don't even know how to describe it now because people have totally, really become clueless as to what that is, like those freedom and rights. Student loan forgiveness struck down. How will this affect the housing industry? I don't, you know, I don't know. People keep asking me about that, like the student loan forgiveness and how it can like if you just forgive all these student loans, it'll be some kind of boost to the economy because now all of a sudden these students who had this debt burden would be able to afford all these things inside of the economy. And I think to myself, and I was just like, well, who's going to end up paying for that? It's going to come at a cost to somebody. It doesn't just disappear, right? It's either going to come at the cost of the taxpayers, or it's going to come at the cost of cutting government, or it's going to come at the cost to somebody, right? It doesn't just disappear. So even if you were to like, oh, hey, now you got all these, all this like debt that's been alleviated, but now you don't have like, now you got this huge tax burden to make up for. So yeah, you may not be paying student loan debt, but now you're paying extra taxes, to make up for it. Or you're getting government cuts, and now you don't have like the government services that you once enjoyed or something like that. I mean, this is, really the results of it. As far as like providing like more money to the economy, I mean, isn't it like a lot of these people aren't making payments as it is? So like, how would that boost it? It wouldn't. It was just like they're not making payments now. They already have that money that they're paying into the economy. It's not going to give them any more money to spend, right? Because they're spending all their money now. They're just not making the debt payment. I guess it would alleviate that mental thought of, oh man, I got this debt burden. And if that is alleviated, then you're like, oh, hey, I can spend all the money I want. I don't have to worry about this debt burden now. And it maybe encourage you to maybe spend more money. But I don't know, like, if you're not making the payments, I don't know how forgiveness is going to add more payments or more spending into the economy if you're already not making the payment. Am I making sense on that? I don't know. Anyway. $4.99 from Ronald. Thank you so much. Besides college, what do you recommend young people to pursue for financial stability? What would I recommend young people to pursue for financial stability? If I was young, if I was 20 years old, and I had, knowing what I know right now, what I would do is I would find a really good financial advisor or some place that I could at least get a decent return on my money. And it doesn't have to be like, not a great, just a decent, right? A good one. And fairly safe. I mean, that's safe. We already talked about how safe that is. Who knows? And I would take advantage of compounding interest. That's what I would do, because being young is by far the best advantage that you could ever possibly have for investing, because you have the ability to take advantage of compounding interest. I mean, even if to pull out a compounding interest calculator, put in $50 a month at like, I don't know, 7 or 8% interest, right? I mean, that's kind of high. Maybe even go a little bit less so it can, be really safe and reasonable. Go down to like 5% or something like that. And if you're 20 years old, say you're going to go for 40 years, right? Put in like 40, 45 years at a 5% interest, $50 a month from now on. You're going to have so much money by the end of it. Like, I mean, it's not like, it's not like you're going to be the richest person in the world, but it's going to be such a significant amount of money that, really, as long as you put that $50 or $100 or even more or whatever, as long as you did that every single month and be committed to that idea nonstop, right? You could pretty much be a dumb shit your whole life, right? And like screw up all kinds of ways. Because at the end of it, you're still going to have that huge chunk of money, right? So long as you were committed to putting that $50 or $100 a month away and taking advantage of the compounding interest, from being young. If you start that at 46 years old, like it's too late. Like I can't take advantage of compounding interest. The compounding interest is, 40 years ago is when I should have been doing it. So that would be my suggestion to somebody who is young. You can really do it. That's simple, and it doesn't take you don't have to really think hard about that. You don't have to be so understanding of the economy to take advantage of something like that. You can have a regular job, live a regular life, do regular things, and just do that $50 or $100 a month every single month from the time you're 20 to the time you're 65 years old, and you're gonna do okay. Yeah, I mean you're gonna have a fairly decent amount. Thank you so much for the, what is that, DOGE Ellis? How do I say that? All right, $9.99. How you doing, Yui? I'm doing good, guys. There's times in which, I get pretty stressed out about stuff. Work gets kind of hectic, or whatever, and I get myself kind of wound up on things. But for the most part, guys, life is good, man. It's I don't, stress out over debts because I don't really take out a lot of debts, and I don't stress about I don't stress about a whole lot of stuff anymore, and I just kind of take each day as another day to try and, figure out something new to do or to enjoy or, advance my, knowledge or something. There was a time in life where it wasn't good, I mean, I would be very stressed all the time and, upset about having to pay bills or not having the money or something like that. And, those kind of things, like those, lower vibration things, I'm getting rid of those things, and I'm trying to really elevate my vibration up to a higher level. So, expand my understanding of the universe, expand my,